The biggest problems is this is just not capturing the flavor of the play. But anyway, I can't take Natasha on the cure, not with her under investigation like that. She's still fairly young. She should survive, is my hope. Other people, though, Nitwiko, Manjak, Yellow controls so much of the Politburo, he feels safe taking the cure. And these guys are really, really sick. Lech also took the cure. He's probably not the least bit safe. Now we go to the Purge and Boris. Well, what does Boris want to do? He wants to start purging people left and right. So I have to look through the people I can get rid of. Natasha is my top choice to get rid of. But Lech is easier. Yulon, I've got the lead-in. Carl, I don't know how important he is, but Lech I only need a 7 for. I'm going to get rid of him. I'm just not in favor of people being around. Oops. Well, that ain't going to do it. And that ends the purges. Now we go to the spy investigation, and that's again going down to Boris, right? Because the two top people for that are sick. Boris is going to go after Natasha. She votes innocent. But here's the problem. I doubt that Green has anyone in the Politburo to protect her. I'll put my 2 vote here, but I don't think I can convince Brown, and my decision now is no. Brown's not gonna, there's nothing I can sway Brown with. Except that yellow is quite potent, at least in appearance. Yes, I have convinced Brown. Boris, yeah, but can Boris vote against his own proposition here? Well, we could prevent the vote from happening. Yeah, no, Brown is not going to support Green on this, I don't think. Brown would say, you know, I would have supported additional investigations against the yellow folk, but I'm not. No, he'll let it go, because that is the price for this. Now, X for yellow is also tied. If Brown went up to a 2, then yellow would have this. But because Brown's not in the tie, he can swing the vote. He's going to vote. He's going to vote to give Boris over to her, and that's 2 innocent votes there. Now it's time to start striking people, though, and it's the purge of the yellows. Now, unfortunately, I can't actually purge anyone, but I can throw people under investigation. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, 7. Massive investigations across the board. That was kind of Brown's price for this, was put everyone under investigation. Let's get the whole lot in trouble. Alright. Now we go to health. Here's where things get really tough. Health-wise, a lot of people are sick, very sick. Natasha has the ability to promote and demote people one level. In particular, but it costs her age to do so. What she may want to do is get rid of some of these lower level people who aren't doing her any good, especially someone like Ulan or Tenure Plan here. That if there's someone back here that I can push up, or better yet, in the candidates. I've got to think about this because rearranging the positions, for the most part, I want these people in places they don't belong, if I can. So him in foreign ministry, and he didn't take his year for that, obviously, should be a problem. And I want him there. But I probably want, if I leave any of these guys there, I want them in their worst position that I can put them in within there. Unfortunately, these guys are worst when they're up at the high level in all cases. So, no help there. What I'm doing is I'm demoting 3 people from candidate to people. That puts it down to 67. Or up to 67. Now, I could demote some of these, but I don't want to promote any of those. However, there are other people I want to promote. Those other people are in the people, though. I'm going to pay 1 to promote Ludmilla. And 1, yeah, you see, this is a hard choice because I'm making it more likely that Natasha's going to die in order to fill in other positions. To demote Ulan. No, I think he's no longer under investigation. No, he can be investigated, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I think he keeps his investigation for whatever it's worth. It's kind of weird when it's not in the Politburo. Now I'm done with Natasha. Now I use Boris to promote Ludmilla another position. And I want a shift here first. Remember, I'm allowed to shift people around a little. And up here, Boris is exactly where I want him in the KGB. I'm okay with this. All right. These 2 are taking the cure. Ludmilla is the next character. Well, you and... yeah, I've got D1 here. So, I probably want to promote R, Nicotine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare a point on Ludmilla. Now she is S. I have 5 on her. Olive and Brown also have points on her. They also like nicotine. We're all going to allow that to just happen without saying anything. That puts it to Tenure Plan Q. Well, maybe we want to promote somebody else with one of these other people. Oliver Brown, so, you know, I've got to go through all this crap again. This game so doesn't come across well solo. Alright, I'll be... Well, Brown put another point on, and Green didn't want to keep bidding her up. And he pushed one more person, Diwan, up into place. And that kind of fills that out. Ungeloff's pretty low on the list, actually. He's fairly young. And they stay sick or whatever down there. Alright. Now, Rehab. Does anybody want to rehab Victor? Blue would love to. Blue is actually the only person interested in something like that, but he's taking the cure with his one character. Let's see if he has anyone else. S, Q, he basically has no power. And E, crack 'em heads, no power at all, anywhere. So, Victor will remain in his position for the parade. She goes up another year because she's healthy enough. She was 69, that puts her to 70, I guess. And then we make a roll to see if she waves. Now this totally does not matter. She does not. We'd have another sick marker down here. Shit, I missed an add influence because something got bumped or something. I don't know. Well, the hell with it. Alright, we're on the last turn. We have gone through 10 turns without the waving. That means we play this out, and the highest... No, that's wrong. The party chief at the end of turn 11 wins. Now, if Natasha takes the cure, she can probably assure her survival, but can she assure that she won't be purged? Well, if Boris stays out here alive and sick, he covers her, and he won't die until the health phase. So I think I can prevent a problem for Natasha. Let's see. This is where the risk was with the other add influence, but I can't do it now. It was supposed to be a turn ago. Okay, so Natasha's fully up though, so I could have put 2 points on Boris. He would have been protected anyway. Other characters probably don't matter. What we're going to see though is other people not taking the cure as well. Nitwiko as foreign minister, well, he has a neat position if Natasha dies, where he gets to select and play with the people who get picked. However, it's best if he's actually not available. Unfortunately, he's available to be questioned. Manjack, on the other hand, is too dangerous. I've got to take him out of the cure for the simple reason that I need his investigative ability to cause problems. What problems? You know, there isn't a lot, but I've got Nitwiko and I've got Lech that I can attack. I can at least remove some competition with them. And some potential innocent votes. Lech, no way he's taking the cure. What about crack 'em heads? You know, he doesn't do any good dead. He's old. He'll be taking the cure. He's in pretty bad shape. So the idea with him is, look, maybe he won't get... I can only bring a trial against one person from the defense minister. Crack 'em heads is unlikely to be it. It's quite possibly not going to be Nitwiko because he's controlled by yellow, but who knows? Well, it might well be the guy whose vote counts. It might well be the guy who's easier to target. I don't know. All right. And now I got to add the ages after all that. Okay. Let's do that. 3 for her. 2. Foreign minister costs him 1, 2, but he doesn't take these. 1, 2. He gets 1. Lech gets a couple. And our sports minister, his cure cancels that out, but he takes 1 for the investigation. It's purge time. Alright. So Boris is irrevocably green. Well, brown has the option. If he puts another point on there, yellow was in there first. Yellow would get the control over this. I think with Boris in his position... Oh, why didn't Natasha take the cure? Oh, she totally should have. She's completely safe. Yeah, she's taking the cure. That was the point behind Boris being here. All right, so Boris switching to yellow would mean that we could purge Natasha. So brown is going to put his 2 points on here. Yellow was here before green. Now this is almost impossible to remember. There's nothing in the mechanisms or the board state or anything like that that keeps this knowledge of who declared their points first. You have to try to remember that in the case of a tiebreaker situation. And that's one of the kind of difficulties and issues with the game. Worst comes to worst, you could say it will not ever change the ordering. That's not what the rules say, but it would be easier to track. Like, whatever ordering is fixed at a time, if you add another tie to it, all that does is opens up the possibility of a tiebreaker coming out. But that's not how the rules are written, and I am quite aware of how this one came out. But you don't have the mechanisms in the game to keep track of this. Okay, so now yellow is in charge, and yellow wants to do purges. Yellow wants to purge who? He's got all kind of power here. I think yellow was just handed the game, but we'll see. Yellow wants to purge Natasha. That's the only way this is going to go anywhere. So Natasha's a 15. Not good enough. That's 3 more age. And the purges end. Now we go to spy investigations. Not a whole hell of a lot I can do here. Again, it's under yellow's control across the board. Yellow is pretty happy with everything. But he doesn't know about some of these characters, like Tigras, Q. I've got points in Tigras, but maybe not enough. Lech over here. I don't have any points in Lech. The only thing I'm worried about is green having points. And Crackham Heads is no problem because he's taking the cure. So I'm only allowed to go after one of these. And I'm choosing to go after somebody I have points on, Tigran here, with the prosecution. I'm only allowed one prosecution. So we'll go through and see who votes innocent, if anyone. Nobody, I don't think anybody is, because nobody's got points on him. So he's just been condemned, even though I'm the only person with points on him. But it was just I don't have many points. If somebody else does, he's not a bad choice. There's 2 people who could vote in favor of saving Natasha, I think. Well, maybe more, but there's 2 that I could do something about. And it takes 3 innocent votes, right? No, 2 innocent votes. I can also drop a question mark on Natasha. That seems like a good idea. I don't really want to drop question marks on people. They're not doing me any good. They're increasing my age and thus my chance of dying. And they're not really doing me any bonus because there will not be another investigation. So we go to health, and this may determine things. In fact, it looks like it will. If Natasha survives, she wins. It's that simple. You don't have to be the active person, unless a lot of people died, but we're not in the position where that's going to happen. Well, the final phase, everybody's obviously taking big risks because, with their lives, because they don't matter, really. Long-term survivability doesn't matter. So we had a number of deaths. Poor Boris, Peter, and Carl all died, but Natasha did not, which means this is going to be a green victory. It's so hard to talk about this game in any sense after playing it solo, because the experience is just completely different. I mean, in terms of the play of the actual game, it's just this, you're not dealing with this chart. You've got a list of characters. That can be kind of a little bit of the annoyance that I had here, which is that you're constantly checking your list and double checking it to see, do I have him? Can I reveal whatever? But usually you remember most of your characters that you have points on. Sometimes there's a couple you might forget pretty often. But otherwise, basically what you're doing is you're playing this bluffing and bidding game throughout the entire time. Where you're trying to machinate, getting your people into the Politburo at the right time. Well, what's the right time? That's hard to tell. If you can run a good string where you can keep somebody healthy in party chief, somebody young like Victor, or Natasha, there's a good chance that you can wave a few times. The problem is, by these rules, you have to do it more than a few times. You have to manage 3. Now, the less players there are, the easier that really is. Because you can imagine, look, we only got 1. Well, that's because, among other things, Nestor lasted the whole damn game, pretty much. He lasted for, half the game, but he's sick, so he can't do anything. And he's old. If you can get a younger person in there, there's a chance that you can get multiple waves and just win off that. And it's hard to push a party chief out of play. But once they're sick, it becomes a little easier. You put the investigation on them, and if they don't have support down in the bottom, in the Politburo itself, they're going to fall away. The less players there are, the more likelihood that the particular player who has the party chief has support. So this game plays very differently in different numbers of players. If you're playing in 6 like I was, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to end through a conventional victory. What you're going to have instead is no one really putting a threat, and the game ending as it did here with whoever holds party chief at the end. Which kind of means you might be willing not to put many points in the initial setup. Of course, there is a little bit of, worry there. If you don't put if only 1 or 2 people put points in that initial setup, they may have the power to push their way into a victory. Maybe not with a single party chief, maybe with a series of party chiefs, but because they have all the power positions at the beginning, they can kind of dominate and, prevent the younger guys from coming up and doing what seems like inevitable. So you do kind of want to protect yourself a little bit. The problem is you got 3 guys in real powerful positions, plus maybe Nestor. He's kind of an iffy thing to put a lot of points on. And, you want... The more players you have, the more likelihood you're not going to actually get the one you put your bid on. Even if you put a big bid on them, they probably have thrown a big bid on them too. The people hiding down in the candidacies and the people are less likely to have big bids put on them for the simple reason that even though they might be your winning characters, there's very little to differentiate them. And the act of promoting them up through the stages can end up, causing them to be obviously tagged to the person who promoted them and thus targeted throughout the game. Anyway, some of that may have come through with this, but most of my effort was spent trying to cope with this, and most of the narrative that was presented was, it just, that's not the game, okay? That's me trying to run this thing solo, and I don't know how else to do it. It is not a terribly pleasant solo game to begin with. I'll come back with a regular review.